y'all are ready. Good. Since day one, I have dedicated myself to standing up and protecting Kentuckians who have been denied justice and who need our help the most. We currently live in a state where nearly 1 in 2 Kentucky women will face some form of sexual violence in her lifetime. I'm a son, I'm a husband, and I'm a dad of an 8-year-old daughter. We will not accept that type of culture, and we will fight every single day to change those statistics. That's why getting justice for victims of rape and sexual assault has been one of our top priorities in the Attorney General's office. We have battled Kentucky's rape culture on multiple fronts. We've committed $1 million to providing critical training for local law enforcement and prosecutors to seek justice for victims of sexual assault. The training focuses on victim-centered investigations and prosecutions that teach that the most important person involved in any crime is always the victim. We've held forums on university campuses all over the state encouraging active bystanding, to look out for each other and to step in when something seems wrong. We are standing up to Washington, D.C. as they try to roll back critical Title IX protections for victims. We even sued universities that were unwilling to be accountable for assaults or harassment from faculty and administrators. We created the Attorney General's Survivors Council, a group of survivors of violent crime, to advise my office. And just last month, we became the first state agency to commit and train every single employee on the Green Dot Active Bystander Program to help prevent and report sexual assault and sexual harassment in our communities. But our most impactful efforts to change this culture have been in our work addressing Kentucky's rape kit backlog. When I came into office, we were told we had over 3,100 untested rape kits. We had over 5,000 because we went out and we found every single one. They're not just boxes, they're not just kits. They represent the courage of a survivor of a horrendous crime that agreed to undergo a forensic exam that we know causes them more trauma. Yet, their courage was locked in a box, placed on a shelf, and people tried to forget it. So we went to work to right this wrong. And I'm proud to say that as of today, we have completed the first round of testing for every single one of the 5,000 kits. We are one of only 2 states nationally, according to ABC News, that now have 0 untested kits. And that's something we can and should be proud of. We've worked to make sure it would never happen again, providing over $4.5 million to our crime lab so they could hire more people, buy more equipment, and do more training. And while I'm proud of those efforts, there are still the forgotten 5,000, survivors of a horrific crime that deserve more than merely having a kit tested. So we took another step, establishing a cold case unit in this office that works every single day for those forgotten 5,000. And as of today, we had announced, through the work of local prosecutors along with our unit, 8 indictments. Today, I'm announcing a 9th indictment for a crime committed almost 20 years ago. Through the work of my office, local law enforcement, and prosecutors, today's indictment is the 9th link to the Safe Kit backlog. And the new indictment shows the importance of the work we are doing and how this work builds and results in additional indictments even when the individual survivor at issue, even when their kit might not be a part of the backlog. So last August, we announced the cold case indictment of Jason Todd Langston of Louisville in an alleged 2005 sexual assault in McCracken County. A cold case investigation linked evidence from a minor's 2005 sexual assault forensic evidence, or SAFE kit, to a Langston profile. Our cold case unit worked with law enforcement and prosecutors in McCracken County to finally seek justice for that victim 13 years later. But the investigation resulting from that indictment led us to a second victim and today's indictment against the same man, Jason Todd Langston, this time in connection with an alleged 2000 sexual assault. So this morning, a McCracken County grand jury indicted him on 4 counts, including first-degree rape, first-degree sodomy, kidnapping, and second-degree persistent felon. The McCracken County Commonwealth Attorney Dan Bowes had original jurisdiction to prosecute both cases, but has requested that Assistant Attorney General Dana Todd in the cold case unit take the reins. Langston is currently being held at the McCracken County Detention Center. As impressed as I am with our cold case unit and the fact that our investigation into that indictment on the 2005 case has led to yet another survivor and another indictment, we could not have made this arrest, we could not have made this indictment without the help of many agencies. So I want to thank the McCracken County Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Dan Bowes has been amazing to work with. The McCracken County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Matt Carter, has been such a big help. The Paducah Police Department, which was instrumental in this case, and the Kentucky State Police Central Forensic Laboratory for working hand in hand with us to get justice. This 9th indictment shows you how critical working on this backlog is, and that we can expect more and more indictments as we move forward. The more investigations we have, the more it will lead us to serial rapists that may still be on our streets. So today is a very good day, but let me tell you, I expect many more good days in front of us. I'm happy to take questions.
This was a 2000 case?
So this was from an assault that occurred in 2000. And what happened is we originally had a hit on a safe kit from 2005 from a minor that had allegedly been sexually assaulted. We investigated that case and we indicted this individual. But in that investigation, we met a second survivor who had also allegedly been sexually assaulted by the same individual. And today's indictment is for that survivor coming out of that initial investigation.
A naive question. Does the evidence from the rape test kit ever get so old that it's tainted?
Well, all the evidence isn't the same. And so when each rape kit is a little bit different in what can be tested, and so the very first thing the outside lab determines when they get it is whether DNA can be extracted. And there are some kits where DNA has not been able to be extracted, but we got a grant that makes sure that we don't end it then. What we do is we send it back to the investigating agency and we ask if there's anything else, if there is other evidence that they have collected, and sometimes we get those kits back in.
After the original inventory, I think it was said that there was maybe 3,500 approximately untested rape kits. That you referred to the number,
Right.
1,000 number. What was the difference between those two numbers?
Well, with the original count, we don't think located each and every one, and then there were certain parameters that they set on the initial count. For us, it was important that if a kit existed, we see if we could test it. And just because someone thought that it might not contain what we could extract DNA from, technology is always changing, and there might be other evidence out there. So when we address a problem, we want to make sure we do everything we can, and that's every single kit we know about. But our system is set up to where if there's another one out there that hasn't been reported, that we can get it in this system, we can get it tested, and hopefully we can move towards justice.
So there were even more that were out there that maybe for whatever reason they thought couldn't be tested or whatever, but you went ahead and...
That's right.
Is there any reason to believe that this Langston guy may have committed even more? Is he being investigated, or can you say whether he's being investigated for any additional crimes?
I can say that there are open investigations
Involving Mr. Langston?
involving Mr. Langston.
When this whole issue kind of first came up, it was said that frequently sex offenders don't do it just once, that they often do it multiple times. And you sort of hinted at this already, but I wonder if you could speak to the power of
Right.
the rape kit backlog with exactly these kinds of people.
In the very first press conference we had on this, on the backlog, more than 3.5 years ago, we've all been together that long, we talked about the experience in Detroit, and how that experience led them to identify for them it was hundreds of serial rapists. Now, the fact is that many who engage in this horrific crime do it repeatedly, over and over, and have multiple victims. I can tell you the very first indictment from this backlog, which was from 1983, was already in jail because he had sexually assaulted a second individual. And I know that person. And so when you look at the importance of what we do, it's not just getting the indictments, it's making sure this never happens again. Because so many rapists are serial rapists, we got to catch them the first time. We got to make sure we have a culture of investigation and prosecution that mean that we don't catch a rapist after the 10th victim, we catch them after their first. Yes?
I'm sorry, you may have said already, the second victim from 2000, is that a minor as well?
We do not believe that that was a minor. All right. Thank you all very much.